The Mercedes 2022 W13 Formula One car has made its way onto the racetrack for the first time as the esteemed drivers George Russell and Lewis Hamilton decided to take it for a spin at the stormy Silverstone Showdown. However, things didn't go as smoothly as you'd expect. In today's video, we'll be talking about the crazy conditions these two gentlemen had to face while taking the Mercedes Silverstone for a sweet ride. Russell's comments about the weather. The 8-time Constructors' Champions made sure to take the world by storm as they took out their latest contender, the sparkling silver W13, on a nice Friday morning before they decided to run it at the Grand Prix venue in Britain, which featured a 100-kilometer shakedown as part of a filming day. It seems like Russell couldn't hold himself back when it came to commenting on the adverse conditions that were posed during the stint. He stated that it's one of the windiest days that he's ever experienced in his motorsports career to date. Russell added that it was pretty crazy how bad the conditions were for racing, but they still managed to do best and kept the car on the black stuff. They were hoping to just go through the program with the intention of just running it, and that he made sure they were comfortable. He stated that he was in the end, and he was pretty satisfied with it too. Russell further added that the car handled as well as he hoped for, considering the circumstances of the conditions. It was pretty wet, and the wind was a huge nuisance when it came to traversing the racetrack of the Grand Prix, but overall, they managed to do well despite the stormy and gusty conditions of the road, which is why these racers are best known for being adept on the race course. He stated that they're in a pretty good place if they think about it, and they're good in the window ahead of Barcelona as well. Williams' comments about the weather. The ex-Williams racer added that these conditions meant that he and his team were considering the shakedown with a pinch of salt, as the wind conditions were pretty devastating. The wind was blowing at around 100 kilometers an hour at Silverstone, which was pretty severe to compete in. He stated that it's pretty hard to drive when winds are blowing towards you at around 100 kilometers an hour, and then when you compare it to no wind, it becomes a breeze to drive. So the wind was a pretty important factor to take into account. It posed a big concern for many of the racers participating in the Grand Prix. Russell also stated that it was not easy at all for them, but the conditions were pretty much in line with what they faced and saw in the simulator. He further went on to say that he'd be going back and making sure to correlate that afternoon, but despite everything that he's learned, it's still a constant learning process. He stated that all of them are going to take the day with a pinch of salt and make it their goal to get through the program in one piece and to make sure that the car runs okay and without any major setbacks or problems. Hamilton decided to take over for his teammate later in the afternoon to complete the combined run of around 100 kilometers. The 7-time champion made sure to gear up for the 10th season at Mercedes as he's aiming for a record 8th title. The preseason runs at Barcelona will begin on February 23rd through the 25th, where Mercedes and their 9 rivals will take to the track in their earnest. Ferrari drivers Sainz and Leclerc shake down at Fiorano. Fans around the world were treated to a special digital launch of the new Ferrari F175, which took the world by storm. The car was taken out to Fiorano for its first track outing. The conditions seemed to be pretty foggy on the racetrack, and the Maranello-based squad decided to complete a 15-kilometer demonstration run where Charles Leclerc became the first to drive the Scuderia 2022 Challenger before he went on to hand it over to his teammate Carlos Sainz. It seems that Ferrari is the second team to debut their new car at Fiorano, following after Alfa Romeo also took to the circuit on Tuesday with their new driver Valtteri Bottas under the cockpit of the car, who was shaking down their Ferrari-powered C42. A closer look at the Mercedes W13 2022. The Mercedes W13 2022 is a beast of a car, and the long and slim overriding theme is pretty exciting to look at. The wheelbase of the vehicle has been limited to a maximum of 3,600 millimeters under the 2022 regulations, and the Mercedes design team has retained its favored way of using the length of the car and has made sure to package it pretty narrowly. The vehicle features narrower pods and wider side channels to ensure maximum performance and stability on the racetrack, and also has many other aerodynamic implications as well. It makes sure to keep the outwash generated further in the forward direction to stay outwashed. The underfloor of the vehicle is pretty much farther away from where the airflow is coming off the front wing and front wheels, so there's a lesser chance of this seemingly turbulent flow of being sucked under the floor from the sides of the vehicle, and it makes sure to reduce the effectiveness of the Venturi tunnels as well, which serve to generate around more than half the car's total downward acting force. Now, moving on to the second implication. It has created enormously wide side channels which lie between the side pod and the outer angle of the floor of the vehicle. They are much wider than any car has been revealed to date. The wider floor has created lots of volume for air to be directed around the side pods, which continue to meet up with airflow that continues to exit the tunnel diffuser. This continues to create a significant pressure differential that acts between the upper surface of the channel and the downward floor ventures, which creates a downward acting force. In order to make sure that the distance between the front axle and the start of the side pods has been maximized within the permitted permitted wheelbase area, the power unit has been seemingly mounted a long way back, similar to the Aston Martin, which implies that it houses a short gearbox casing. It can be observed how the engine airbox and the associated plumbing start much farther behind the cockpit than on a Ferrari. About aerodynamics. Inside the narrow sideward and rearward placed engine layout of the vehicle are many aerodynamic niceties as well. The side pods, being very long, are extremely sophisticated when it comes down to their shaping. They also feature a significant undercut on the front corners, which spread down the sides. There is also a downward ramp which only lies at the front, with the upper contours of the pods rising gently up and towards the radiator exit, which lies at the back, and it is roughly in parallel with the shape of the Venturi tunnels, which lie further down. The line of the lower bodywork continues to suggest that the tunnels seem to feature a double kick, featuring a smaller expansion chamber down the length before the full upkick diffuser, which lies towards the back. When we talk about the inlet for these tunnels, they appear to be pretty minute, but they lie pretty much higher up as compared to many other vehicles that we've seen. The amalgamation implies that a strong suction effect occurs at that tunnel, which maximizes the speed of the airflow through them as well, and it also influences airflow around the inlet and allows it to be directed either towards those channels down the side or outwashed further out. The long nose of the car continues to merge with the lower wing element, which is similar to what we've seen on most cars, hanging below the nose with the second element continuing to merge into the sides of the nose. This will have to be optimized to ensure that the fastest and smoothest flow possible occurs to the very hollowed out underside of the nose, the negative pressure of which will be exerting a strong pull onto the oncoming air. The faster the air can be pushed in this forward part of the car, the more will be the energy available to feed the flow into the tunnels, to the side channels, but it is pretty difficult to achieve considering the current regulations. And now we move towards the back of the vehicle, where it's been possible to fit a small shark fin, which could aid with the stability and yaw as the direction of the car to the oncoming air continues to change in the early part of the quarter, so that change is introduced progressively more onto the rear wing by that fin. As it's expected of Mercedes, the vehicle is pretty well thought out and seems to be a sophisticated piece of kit, and has another very distinctive take and outlook on the current new regulations. And that's pretty much it for today's video. What do you think of the Mercedes Shakedown? Let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time for some more videos.